today I'm going to talk about how you can unleash the power of IMSure 3D patient QA software. IMSure 3D uses the power of a gold standard Monte Carlo calculation engine combined with an automated and intuitive QA workflow. This combination provides accurate and meaningful plan QA analysis so your physics, dosimetry, and even therapy staff can have confidence in the plans they deliver and the time to focus on what matters, which is your patients. Before I get into details of what makes IMSure 3D the gold standard of plan QA, I just want to take a moment to review, what most of us know as the traditional plan QA process. So the reality behind traditional dose check software is that although it satisfied TG 219 requirements for at least a one-dimensional dose or monodunit check, plan complexity has increased significantly in recent years, making these checks less reliable. Especially as treatment fields get smaller, dose gradients get larger, as we see with VMAT, SBRT, and SRS. In these cases, dose discrepancies that are outside of acceptable tolerance are often reasoned away through hand-waving arguments that highlight the limitations of the second check algorithm. But where really is the value then in this double check? So in more complex cases, the physicist must resort to phantom-based pre-treatment plan QA measurements on the treatment machine. The advantage of this is the physicist now has an array of two-dimensional or three-dimensional dose comparisons. However, this takes a significant amount of time, often after hours, and since the measurements are phantom-based, it can still be challenging to relate the impact of QA dose discrepancies to the actual patient dose distribution. So what makes IMSure 3D the gold standard? To provide a bit of background, IMSure 3D is a collaboration between Standard Imaging, Radiologica, and Dr. Marcus Alber of Scientific RT. Dr. Alber has recognized clinical and research expertise with Monte Carlo algorithms within both academic and commercial settings. He was the creator of the Hyperion dose calculation engine, which was later commercialized by Elekta as Monaco. And which is the treatment planning system. Monte Carlo dose calculations are arguably recognized as the gold standard in treatment planning. However, the trade-off for treatment planning system accuracy is these plans are very slow to calculate. So recognizing this was a limitation for plan quality assurance calculations, Dr. Alber set forth to develop a faster, accurate Monte Carlo algorithm for plan QA called SIMOCA. This is the Monte Carlo algorithm used in IMSure 3D. Its strength is in the culmination of over 20 years of expert knowledge in Monte Carlo dose calculations by someone who's been defining and setting the standards in this area. Our customers will benefit from knowing their treatment beams are modeled to be as accurate and precise by the best in the field. This combined with IMSure 3D's streamlined, intuitive, and automated user interface sets us apart from our competitors. To further illustrate this strength, I want to point out that there are a large number of publications surrounding the SIMOCA Monte Carlo algorithm, and this number is continually growing. It is important to us at Standard Imaging that our users understand the proven accuracy and precision behind our IMSure 3D software. From my days in the clinic, I know that physicists want to truly understand the backbone of such products. Clinical physicists do not want a black box solution that isn't supported through independent research or peer-reviewed publication to stand behind the product. So these are some examples of publications, and you can find these on our website. The proven accuracy of the gold standard SIMOCA Monte Carlo algorithm, combined with the precision of custom beam models, enables fast, simple, and reliable automated patient quality assurance computations. IMSure 3D offers comprehensive analysis and reporting tools with a seamless web-based user interface and service-oriented architecture, which enables the majority of the workflow to happen behind the scenes through automated DICOM passing and data processing. This allows the QA process to seamlessly integrate into your clinic's workflow. When the plan QA calculation is complete, the user is automatically alerted and only needs to interact with the QA analysis and reporting tools, which I will show you later. There's no proprietary hardware to purchase. There's no expensive GPU card. It's just standard hardware that runs on your hospital's own network. So once the machine model is complete, the solution is really easy to configure, really easy to install, really easy to get up and running in the clinic. And as a physicist trying to get new technology moving forward in the clinic, that's really important. So our goal in comparison to competitor products in terms of features really is to match all the analysis functionality and reporting features, because that's pretty standard for us. But we want to make it faster, make it easier, make it more intelligent and more hands-off for the user to interact with. As this list shows, and again, I will show you in a little demo later, we offer comprehensive features to compare the 3D dose of the treatment planning system to the Monte Carlo IMSure 3D dose. These tools include plan quality evaluation, dose volume histograms, 3D gamma analysis, image slice viewer to scroll through to look at dose calculation and gamma differences, and to visualize comparisons. And there's also a beam data table. And lastly, there's very useful documentation, approval, and reporting tools. So the backbone of IMSure 3D's precision and accuracy lies in the customer-specific beam models. The beam modeling is done by Marcus and his team at Scientific RT, who are by far the experts with over 20 years of experience with Monte Carlo and radiation therapy. This gives our customers confidence in knowing that their beam model is as precise and accurate, in some cases even more accurate than their treatment planning system. It is truly a meaningful second check, even for the most complex treatment plans. So there are 3 types of beam modeling packages that we offer. The first is a custom beam model, and that's simply that. The models are optimized to the customer's specific beam data, and this option truly unleashes the full potential of Monte Carlo, and it reinforces the idea that if you're seeing discrepancies between your primary dose and your secondary dose, it's not the IMSure 3D result. The second option is the gold beam data model. This option is only available to those customers who paid their Linac vendor to tune their system to the gold beam data sets. So that would be from Varian or Elekta, and they're not generic models. And then finally, we do have what we refer to as a generic template beam model, and these can be used for machines that leave the manufacturing site within very tight specs, and they're guaranteed to match similar machines. So an example of this would be the Halcyon. The modeling time is typically 2 to 4 weeks, assuming the customer has provided all the necessary data and the data is good. The customers will be given a pre-installation checklist to make data collection very easy to follow and clear. It is possible that some customers may need to take new measurements, but you could also pull these from your treatment planning system. The bottom line is that getting the data is a part of the process before the modeling starts. In essence, our modeling process is an independent check of the integrity of your treatment planning system data. We have had cases where something looked off with the data from the modeling perspective, and the customer did eventually uncover an issue with their data. So I know although that's a little unsettling, it is reassuring that you have that ultimate second check in Monte Carlo. The proprietary process and dedicated tools behind the beam modeling method enables highly precise models for a vast array of vendors and treatment techniques. So our vendors include Elekta, Varian with Halcyon and Ethos included in there, Siemens, Accuray, Tomotherapy, RadExact, CyberKnife Systems, Zapex, and expected later this year, Unity, and Meridian MR is also a work in progress. We also support electrons, applicators and cutouts, and all treatment techniques such as IMRT, VMAT, SRS, you name it, we support it. So the screenshots here show an example of excellent gamma agreement for varying plan complexities. And these both have extremely tight gamma criteria of 1%, 1 millimeter. Knowing IMSure 3D has beam models that are accurate depictions of your machine, you can be confident that any dose discrepancies are algorithmic differences within the treatment planning system, and they truly should be further investigated. As I previously mentioned, historically, second check calculations were known to be less accurate dose estimates compared to your treatment planning system. So often any significant dose differences were usually reasoned away, or they prompted machine QA. This truly defeats the purpose of a secondary dose check, in my opinion, especially for complicated plans that may push the limits of your treatment planning system algorithm. Customers using IMSure 3D are confident that the dose calculations are just as accurate or more than their treatment planning system. So any differences are investigated thoroughly and may even uncover issues with their treatment planning system model or a breakdown of the treatment planning system algorithm with a particular patient or plan. The fact that Monte Carlo is the gold standard for radiation therapy dose calculation is really not a new idea. Monte Carlo has been around for 50 years or more, and this has been true for 50 years in radiation therapy. Traditionally, the primary reason we don't have Monte Carlo in every clinic is due to calculation time and the associated hardware costs to support that. So to meet that challenge, SIMOCA focused on optimizing every element of the Monte Carlo algorithm to accelerate computation times without relying on really expensive hardware or GPU cards. With SIMOCA and IMSure 3D, we're now at a point where the calculation times are imminently feasible and manageable for QA purposes within the clinic. So here you can see examples of calculation times for 3 different plans. The first is a very simple plan with 44 segments, and as you can see with a 3 millimeter voxel size, it calculates in less than 16 seconds. Now, if we up the complexity a little bit and we keep the voxel size similar, still the calculation time is less than a minute. Now, the far right shows a 2-arc VMAT plan for a head and neck. And as you can see here, as you adjust the voxel size, say from 2 millimeters up to 3 millimeters, you do see a difference. However, both are still less than 2 minutes. And these are with standard dual 8-core Intel servers. So this is an example of a CyberKnife. CyberKnife calculations do take longer because they're a much higher resolution in general, and they typically take 1 to 3 minutes still. However, the key fact is it is dependent on your hardware and your calculation settings. So here you can see the same plan calculated for a spine with a standard dual 8-core Intel processor for 1 millimeter voxel size. It's still under 422 seconds, so it's still not incredibly long. It's not like you're talking hours. It's a matter of minutes. If you're really concerned about that speed, you could up your processing ability. So that'll bring it down to like 2.5 minutes. Again, that's very high resolution. So if you go up to 2 millimeters and 3 millimeters, you can see the time drops down significantly. Same for the meningioma test case on the right. From 1 to 3 millimeters, you can drop it down to still less than a minute in the majority of cases. The thing to note really is that typically when the user sits down to interact with the software, the calculation is already complete. So ultimately, these calculation times are usually invisible to the user. The user is simply alerted by an email when the calculation is done and the report is ready to review. The only time that they would be aware that the real-time calculation performance may be a little longer is if they're sitting in front of the plan and they change something, say the voxel size or the uncertainty, and that will force a recalculation. But still, it's still easy to incorporate it into your workflow because these calculation times are really just several minutes and not hours. As I already mentioned, the workflow to get to this point is fully automated. A DICOM export from the treatment planning system cues the calculation. There's parallel processing to optimize this throughput. Once a calculation is done, the workflow is automatically updated and the user can configure an auto email distribution list to let people know when calculations are done and the results are ready for review. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment and switch over to our software so I can kind of give you a sense of the layout of the software. Okay, so this is the page that the user will see when they log into IMSure 3D. It takes them right to the patient list. Here you can see patient name, plan information, when it was received. You can also see here in this second to last from the right column, the status. So you can see which plans have been approved, and which ones are pending and need to be reviewed and approved. This list can be managed easily from the tools here on the right. You can set up an archive here or delete anything that maybe came over that shouldn't be in there. Also, the reports that are generated after approval are here for easy review. So when you click on a patient, it'll take you to the reports area. This is basically a big scroll down menu here. However, you can easily get to each section by just clicking here. So here you can see we have our metrics page, DVH, gamma analysis, image slice viewer, and the beam information table. And then there's quick access to approve and unapprove and view your PDF report. So I'll kind of look more closely at some of these metrics. So here you have very easy color-coded metrics associated with your important structures that you're looking at for your target and also your critical structures. And these, the dose criteria are set through templates. So you can import templates based on specific site treatment sites. You can import a template for specific physicians if one physician plans a little different from another. These templates can be exported and shared with other IMSure 3D users. So if you have multiple clinics, you can go ahead and import and export and share those easily. So it's nice to save some time that way. Next, in terms of the DVH metrics, this is very easy to interact with. You have a legend up here, so anything in green is a DVH where the treatment planning system DVH, which is shown in solid, and the IMSure 3D DVH in dashed, they meet their limits, so they match well. Anything in red is below or exceeds the limit for the difference, and anything in yellow is within the limits or they have an acceptable variation. A blue DVH, I don't have any here with this particular one. This means that that particular region of interest isn't mapped to anything in the template, so you can't have data with that. In terms of adding and deleting visually your regions, it's very easy. It's just a click away. If you want any particular dose volume information, you can just hover over and you will get that information automatically. We move further down. We have a very straightforward gamma analysis summary. So you have your passing rate overall, your dose criteria. This is 2% 1 millimeter in this case, dose cutoff, and your what type of analysis you're using, and your voxel size for both CPS and your double check. Another very helpful tool is the image slice viewer. I'll see if I can scroll through here. Let me move up a little. Sorry, it's messing me up on here. Anyway, I can't really show you the dose, unfortunately. Let's see if I can scroll this way. There we go. So here you have your dose. You have the option of looking at your treatment planning system. You can look at your IMSure 3D dose, and you can also look at your gamma, and then you can scroll through and see how that agrees in different areas. And then lastly, you have your beam data summary. I'll click down here. And that shows just all your general beam data for both your treatment planning system as well as your IMSure 3D. So it's just kind of helpful information in terms of, you can look at specific densities and that kind of thing. So when everything is good to go, you're ready to approve, and you can print your report. Let's see if I can go back to the patient work list, and we can look at this report. Hopefully it shows up okay. So you have a customizable and very complete report here that's shown as approved, and you can upload it to your record and verify system. So in summary, IMSure 3D offers Monte Carlo accuracy for a double check. It has absolute automation. Everything happens behind the scenes, so it's very minimal time for the user to get results and review and approve them. Calculation times are quick and very reasonable to fit into your clinical workflow. And this adds significant time savings to your QA routine. And that savings that can be recognized, across facilities. So if you're a multi-facility center, which many are now, you can, keep track of quality assurance that's happening at other centers, even if you're not on site. Again, IMSure 3D and SIMOCA supports all major treatment machines and techniques. So I'm going to open it up to questions now. At the moment, I don't see any, but I'll give it a few minutes. If you have any additional questions at a later time, feel free to email me at vhoward@standardimaging.com, or you can reach out to the sales team at sales@standardimaging.com.